Welcome gamers to Waronoi. Waronoi is a fairly fast-paced real-time strategy game. It's a war game. It's sort of like a war game. It's not strictly a war game, but it works like a war game to a large degree, but it is real time. So anyway, it's quite an unusual game. It's procedurally generated. Each map that you play has got procedural generation. So a lot of replayability. Also with the types of units that you get, the actual combinations are also randomized, which is makes it very, very interesting game to play. So let's just get into it. I'll just go straight to the settings. I'll just go through a few of the little things that I would suggest that you're doing if you do get the game. This will be a bit like a tutorial. I will try to keep the pace going a little bit. Settings. It's a very simple graphics game. What you're seeing underneath here is not the way the game looks at all. It's a top-down literally just using NATO symbols type game, so don't worry about the look of it. So the quality doesn't really matter at all. It's very, very basic graphics, which is, I know for most of you guys that will be fine. Some of you won't like the graphics, but you'll see from this video whether it's something that you do like or not. I would strongly suggest that you turn on, it's not strongly, I would suggest not that you turn on the hit chance numbers. These are off by default. It just gives you the percentage hits on the actual units, which just gives you a bit of a feel for how the battles are going. So I quite like that one turned on. It's not a massive thing, so yeah, I wouldn't strongly advise that, but I would advise it. The in-game advisor is the tutorial, but I would just do the tutorial separately rather than actually doing that inside your actual game. Let's just go back out from there. I'm also playing it on a slower game speed because I like slower games. I like turn-based, and so in this case, I will be using the pause a lot. There is an active pause. One thing I wish that there was a way of changing the keyboard shortcuts. I can't find it in game. There may be a file that does it. I would much prefer the space bar to be the pause rather than the P key, but the P is the pause. So let's go across and go to single player. And so my suggestion, if you do get the game, is to do the tutorial, which would take you about 5 minutes. So it takes a very, very short period of time to do that one. That'll give you the feel for the user interface and how the game actually sort of operates with movement. And that's very important to get that sort of basic understanding. Do it once. You won't understand the context of why you're doing it greatly. It'll seem sort of like fairly random with what you're actually doing. Then go and start doing a few of these humble beginnings just to get a feel for the difference between the types of units. You'll then, by that stage, have forgotten the context of the movement. Or in my case, that was certainly the case. And so I did a few of these, just 2 of these actually is what I did, and then went back and did the tutorial again. And then it started to all come together in my head. And so that's actually sort of something that I would also suggest if you are new to the game, that you do it in that sort of order. Do the tutorial first, come back and do this one. Also have a look at the manual. It's only 6 pages. And it does explain things quite well. I don't think I can bring the manual up during the game. I almost wish I could. I'll go through a few of this is worth reading because it does explain how the game is played, and it's not that complex. You can see only 6 pages. Each page just goes through how things actually sort of then go and work, what to do, how to do it, combat calculations, how they work, things like this. So there's only 6 pages back and through there, plus the keyboard shortcuts in through this side. I don't know if there are any other way to change this one. As I say, I would like to change the pause from P to spacebar, but anyway, it's not there at this stage. So anyway, let's just go through. We're going to be playing a custom game, but I would strongly suggest that you play through these Act 1 humble beginnings. These are easy. They just give you the concepts of the actual game itself, but I'll explain everything I can about the game as we go through it. Custom game. So when we come back into here, so this is us as red. I might just go for us with green. I'll put one bot in. I'll change them to a orange color. That'll be okay. Now, I'm pretty bad at the game, so I'm going to go and give myself a massive advantage just so I can actually win this. And so I'm going to give these guys a 50. So I've got to go all the way to 200. Again, I'd like to see a way to be able to right-click and have it go back downwards rather than going always cycling through. After 200, it goes to 50. Now that means that there'll be 50% of any income that's generated, including the starting money. And so 50% gives me a massive advantage, but I'm pretty slow with my reflexes, so Not that I'll be relying too much on that because I'll be using the P key whenever I possibly can. But the game is not easy, so it's not an easy game to play. Even on 50%, I've still lost a fair number of these just through my own stupidity. Anyway, that's what we're going to be having. Now, when we're ready, we can just press the button here. Now, when we sort of start off, there are different presets we can then go and play. So let's go and talk about these. Now, the skirmish mode is a small map where we end up having like 15 to 30 minutes. Now, we're going to be pausing a lot, so it's more likely going to be 45 minutes, I would guess. We're going to be playing one of these. The maximum number you can actually have of units per side is 40, and I'll explain that when we get into the actual game itself. For a battle, which takes a bit longer, bigger map and more units, you can have up to 121. Now, it's sort of going to seem a bit weird as to what these numbers actually are, and then we've got 364 back up through this other side and through here. Now, if we multiply the 40 by 3, we end up with 120 plus 1, and if we get 121 times 3, we end up with 363 plus 1. And so it's essentially, and I'll explain as to why that's going on and why I'm multiplying it by 3. It means that you've got more depth per unit as you extend into these different areas. It's like it essentially multiplies the units you can actually add into the game by a factor of 3. So it just means you've got more depth through your structures, which you'll see as we get into the actual game itself. Now we're going to be playing a skirmish mode. I think by default, if I go into here, yeah, it's a regiment anyway. So it's a regiment. The army size is 40. 6,000 resources is the default. I can change this. This is the victory location time. This is the maximum lifetime of victory locations. So what's that going to be? 1,800 seconds. Game speed is on slow, and I've got a random spawn. I think I'll actually turn this off. Now this gives me a big advantage because I can then sort of choose where I want to be on the map when I first come in, and that, as I say, is a massive advantage. The AI doesn't do this one all that well. We'll take that opportunity. So just so I can show you how different things work in the actual game itself. For units, back in through this side, so I'll keep it on regiment. This will be okay. So presets will essentially set it up with random spawn turned on if we go back into the skirmish mode, but we're now sort of just overriding this one. For units, I would strongly suggest for your first few games that you actually just only play on classic, and what it's going to do is going to move the elite combat areas back out of the list, so we're only left with sort of like just basic core units to actually sort of then get used to, rather than having elite type units. And so these will just make the game make a bit more sense, and particularly for this video, I just want it to sort of be fairly simplistic, so you get a bit of a feel for how it then does work. And then you've got the map itself. Now the way that the map works is that you've only got essentially 4 different types of terrain: water, deserts, forest, and cities. And when I scroll over these, you'll see that there's different settings for each of these. And so water is liquid terrain. There's a sight limit of 4, and this will make sense when we get into the game, and a speed limit of 0. But there are some units that can actually travel on water. And so there are some scout units where water doesn't slow them down. And so they can go across the water, but nothing else can. So for example, armor and infantry cannot go across it, but recon units can. Some of the recon units can get across the water. Now desert is open terrain. You've got a speed limit of 4, which is the fastest in the game, so you can travel quickly through the deserts, and also you have a sight limit of 4, so you can actually see things at long range. Forests have got a sight limit of 2 and a speed limit of 2. These are sparse terrain, and so this is the only type of terrain in the game. So the forests, again, sort of limit the sight to half of what the deserts are, and also the speed to half of what it is. There's also cities, and their sight limit is 1 and their speed limit is 1. So they're very slow to move through, and you can't see very far. This will make sense when we get into the actual game itself, but this is important. Now we can chop and change what we end up with. So for example, if I wanted to just have a full desert map, or a desert map with maybe a little bit of water, I can just do something like this, generate a new map, and then have a look and see what it looks like. So this is a desert map with a little bit of water in the bottom corner there. Or I can go back and actually just go and have like almost like a little island. If I go with a little bit of forest as well, and maybe a little bit of city, we'll just generate a new map. And have a bit of, actually that didn't really work, so that's not going to really work all that well. I'll just go this one a little bit higher to see if that will actually then go and do it. Here we go. And so this is one where we've got these choke points now, where we've got where we have to fight across the bridges, unless we're using recon forces. So depending on what you set up, this is cities back in through here, this is desert, this is forest, and there's only two, in this case, only two of the two areas where we've got the objectives. So both objectives are down on this end of the actual map itself. So each map that you play is actually completely different. Let's just go back and put them back to sort of what they were by default. I'll play with a little bit less. Actually, no, I'll play with cities in around there, I guess. We just generate a new map and have another look. And so this is actually a map that it's then sort of generated for us. Now, the reason that the game is called Waronoi, and it's sort of a very tenuous reason, is it's using the Veroni, with a V, Veroni system of creating tiles for the actual maps themselves. So this is actually a Veroni random pattern. And so that's actually how the maps are put together using that sort of algorithm. So it doesn't really make that much difference to whatever is going on, except that that's sort of what does go on through there. Now, I might just generate a new map and then we'll come in and we'll just sort of randomly play it. But you can always sort of have a look to see if you like the look of the map. Let's just generate a new one. Actually, we are looking at that one. I might just turn that one off. If I just go back to the presets again, I'll just go back to skirmish. Oh, we are sort of seeing it now underneath, no matter what we do. I'll turn the random spawn off. Units, again, we've only got the basic in through there. That's actually okay. The map, generate new map. Yeah, we're seeing the map underneath there, actually, which isn't going to matter that much. All right, let's get into it. And so we can sort of start to sort of now play the game and sort of see how we go. So all I need to do to turn this thing on, by the way, I can add more bots to the game. Like I can have multiple units fighting on the map itself with up to 8 different teams, or I can have a teams game where I can actually have multiple bots that are fighting against me, or I can have me with a few team members against a few team members of bots, whatever we want to do. So you can really customize your gameplay quite dramatically. So let's go in and just generate the game. So this is actually where we are. Now, when we come in, I'm just going to pause this. So I'm going to press P. We can see through here. Let's have a bit of a look in. So as we sort of zoom in, we've got like a victory location there, which is inside sparse terrain. We've got a city back over this side, and we've got another sparse terrain area through here. Plus, at the top of the map, we've got another one up through this other side, through this in the city. So all 3 victory locations are located in terrain that sort of suits more infantry than armor. Armour is much more suitable for the deserts. And so if we want to take this, we can actually then think, okay, well, look, the army type that I would love to get would be mechanized infantry more than anything really with infantry. So mech infantry and infantry would be ideal. Maybe some helicopters for scouting. That's the sort of army that I would like. I've got 6,000 to spend. If I have a look at these guys, I've got F1, F2, and F3. You'll notice that there's actually like a timer that runs down. If we don't choose this guy, eventually he'll be replaced with another unit, and so there'll be a shuffle along of the actual generals. The most we can have at any one point in the game, actually I might just turn the hotkeys on so I can explain what we're doing through this as well. The most that we can actually do through here is to have 3 generals for the whole game. So when we make our choice of generals, we're stuck with them. But they do cost money. The first one is going to cost me 750. And this one's coming in with you've always got some sort of strike. There's an EMP strike, which will then stop any movement for a limited time of anything in the region. This one here is just an infantry squad, which is ideal for city fighting. And then we've also then got attack helicopters in through this side. Now, one thing you'll notice with these is that the infantry squad costs 100, and these cost 450 per unit. And so the infantry is quite cheap. In this case, infantry is going to be very, very valuable for us because it's going to be cheap to produce. We're going to be able to get a lot of them, and we're going to be able to sort of then dominate these close quarters types fights. Let's have a look at the next one across in through this side. This one here is coming in with a gunship. So this is an indirect fire. If I press the right mouse button as well, by the way, I can sort of see exactly what they do actually have. And so this particular helicopter costs 500, can attack any visible unit within weapon range. Flying, can see over terrain, always moves at maximum speed, can't capture victory locations, always visible as if in open terrain. Now, Now, it can see over terrain, but not very far. So it can see a little way into these more densely populated terrains, but not all the way in. It's not like it has like it's got a sight range there of 4. It also has, see how down the bottom there, it's got this 4 and 4 where my mouse is in through this side. If I, again, right-click, that's the range and the speed. It's got very, very long range. This is actually fairly good, this one, but it's very costly at 500. That's about the most expensive unit in the game of these sort of basic units. We also then have, this is mechanised infantry, and this is probably the most ideal one that we would actually be wanting to have. And if I right-click on this one through here, you can see it's got a sight range of 4 on the left-hand side with the base stats. The range is 2, which is great for the forest, and the speed is 2. So it's reasonably fast, got good range for the fighting, perfect for the forests, and can still be fairly effective in the cities as well. And so the combination of both these, this one cost me double the cost of infantry, so it does cost a little bit more, but I can move quickly with it. We also then have a supply drop. So while in the area of effect, units reloads 2 times faster, which means that they fire faster. That's actually essentially the way it works. The actual combat in the game is very, very simplistic, just based on these on these base amounts. You can see there the hit chance 12%. Everything is going to have a default hit chance of 12%. It really comes down to more the range and what they can see. So you have to make good use of the terrain with the types of units. So this is actually a good one for us. Let's have a look and see what F3 brings. F3 brings motorized recon. Now these also cost 200. These move amphibiously, so they treat liquid terrain as open terrain. So the road speed, they move double on the roads, and these have only got a range of 1. So these are actually fairly good inside the city, but I really might as well just use these other guys for that. So I think I'm going to buy this one here. This one's tempting because of the cheapness of the actual infantry. So if they're fighting in the city, they're still going to have the same effect as if they're mechanized infantry. But the mechanized infantry will get an advantage inside this sort of sparse terrain. So let's go back into this one here. We're going to hire it. We've got 6,000 to spend, so we'll hire this one in through this side. Now I've clicked on the hire. I have to unpause, so I'll just press P, and so the general has now been hired in through this side. Now we need to go and create our first unit, which is going to be our headquarters, and so I'm going to use one of these mechanized infantry for 200, and this is where we're going to then we can place anywhere we like on the map. And I'm going to go and position this one right on top of this area here, I think. I think this will be a good spot for us. So let's go, and then we'll start to take these. I don't know where the AI will spawn in. It could spawn in up through this side. We're going to have to try to find it. So the first of the units we bring in, now we've got, each unit that we bring in can have 3 sub-units coming off from it. So I'm going to go and create, I'm going to grab one of these. So when I click on this one, at the moment, it's saying that I can actually use this supply drop whenever I feel like it, but I don't need it just yet. It doesn't cost any money to bring any of these strike forces in. So use them when they're ready, when you need them, but we don't need it just yet. So we've got that one ready to go. This is fairly weak. It's no offensive firepower in this one other than to support our actual units. When we click on these, we go into deployment mode. So select type for the deployment. Now the first one we're going to be bringing in is going to be our headquarters. Now I'm just going to zoom in a little bit in through here, and I'm going to place the headquarters. I think I'll place it in here, just on this city. So we'll actually go and just place it on that one there. I'm just going to right click, and again nothing's happening until I unpause, and then we'll see that there's been a drop. I'll just pause again so I can talk a little bit about it. And so we now actually have like a regiment of mechanized infantry. It's just a single unit at this point in time, but that's the objective for the enemy, is to kill that or to take all of these actual objectives. So there's the two ways of winning the game: are to take the objectives or to take the or to kill the HQ. Now with the HQ selected, I'm still in deployment mode. I can press escape to leave deployment mode, but I'm going to go back to deployment mode. I'm going to click on my HQ. I'm going to go and place one unit down through here just to go and control this area. So I'll place a group, and so you can see there that our money is now starting to dwindle away. So there's another 200 will now go off if I unpause again. There it goes, and we're now down to 4.6. I'm going to grab another unit as well and have it sort of get ready to go off and take the other objectives. So we'll go and grab another one in through there. And we don't know where the AI actually is at this point in time. So I'll just unpause and that will then drop into there. Notice this area around here. This is one area that we're talking. It's 4 or 5 including where you are at the moment. 5 of these small hexes is one range unit. So these units can fire at 2. If I just go and press escape again and just to show you what these can do. Now we've already taken this one in through this side. So we're now getting a little bit of a boost to our money coming back in through this other area. Let's just zoom back out a little bit so we can sort of see what's going on. So this unit through here, when I hover over it, that's what it can see from this location. It's quite strong. If I press the F key and start to sort of drag around, units can, the units from here can't see into the city unless they get closer. So getting into a city on the edge of a city like this, where it can then sort of see out past the edge of the city, does give it a big advantage because it's got a sight range of 2. So this position where it is actually a very, very good defensive position to protect everything that's going on through here. But we need to go across and grab this area. Now, I think without knowing where the AI is, I'm assuming that they're going to come pretty thick and fast. So I'm going to go to this one now, and I'm going to go and grab more of the deployments, and just going to add in another unit, a subunit. So we've got 2 subunits coming in off our HQ at the moment. I can put a third one in, but let's just wait until we have a need for it. Let's go and add in another subunit back in through this side as well. So just in off the side of this one. Again, I can have 3 of these. And so if you multiply them out a little bit now, you can sort of see that the first one can have 3, and then the next 3 can have another 3, and then the next one of those can have another 3, which gives us the total of 40 ultimately with what we can then go and do. Again, if I just unpause, so we now have a smallish sort of group in through this side. They're still the same group, but they're just connected through the logistics. Now, to have a look and see exactly what the structure is, like the order of battle of the actual groups that we actually have brought in, if I press the B key, we can then sort of see like a list of the different types of units and their subunits. And so I can actually go and grab these, for example. But this one here, if I just go and add another unit in, I can then go to a further level down. Or what I can do, if I just go and place one through there, for example, and just go P, this is going to be like the smallest of the types of units. I'll just pause again. And so it goes from HQ all the way down. Now, if we played into a larger battle scenario, we would have another level that we can go. So we can go into 4 levels deep. Or if we go into a theatre level area, we can have 5 levels deep, meaning that we can sort of end up with over 300 different types of units if we multiply everything by 3. I hope I'm making sense with that. Anyway, let's go and flesh this one out completely, and we'll move this one off into the other terrain. So we'll actually go and I'm going to select this guy in through this side. I've still got my deployment. You can see it back over through here as well. Like it's got, for example, reinforce unit. What reinforcement will do is then basically, as long as I've got the money, it will then go and add in as many units as it can underneath this one. So I've got that one selected. I can do it for any one of these. If I do it for that one there, I'm going to get 3 different units coming in. If I do it for this one here, I'm going to get 2 more of these classes plus 3 units coming in for each of those. So we'll do it that one there. We're going to get a fairly large group. So I'll just go through the way that the game does work. So with that one selected, I've got the type of unit that I want to bring in. So I can actually bring in, if I wanted to, have that as the leader, but then bring in some helicopters underneath this if I wanted to. I don't have to. What I can do though, I might just bring in 1 gunship underneath this particular unit. So at the moment we've got 1 of these. Let's go and add a gunship. And so we're just going to go and add in another gunship back in here. Now, they have to be within the 1 unit area of the HQ to spawn things in. Let's just go and add a gunship there. That way we can just do some scouting. So if I unpause, oops, there it is. So the gunship is now in there. So we now actually have a helicopter that can now start to fly around. And if we hover over that one, we start to see that one will start to, if I just press the escape again and hover over that, you can see there it's got like a broader area it can fire at. And so we'll be wanting to now move this off to do this initial scouting. But we'll come back to that one in just a minute. Let's just now go back to This group, now we'll go to this group here, and we've still got 3,500. We're going to go back to just mechanised infantry, and we're going to, with that one selected, we're just going to press the R key, and we'll unpause, and then we'll see that all these will then flash out. Let's pause again. So we now actually have 3 of these coming in off the bottom of this one through here, and each one of these has also then got 3 different units, including the helicopter from one of them. If I then press the B again, we can then see the structure of what we've actually then brought in. So we've got, so we can have a multiple of 3 of these. Those 3 can then bring in 3 of this level, and then each of these can bring in 3. That's the maximum that we can do. But we can still bring in more through here, if we even bring another unit back in through here if we need to. So let's actually leave one of them blank as a default. We don't know where the AI actually is at this point in time, so we'll actually come back and maybe look at that after we sort of have scouted them out with the helicopters, try to figure out where they're actually coming from. So let's go and send the helicopter. Now, if we just press, actually we already have pressed escape, so we've actually we now are in movement phase. So let's go and move this one up to have a look and see what we can actually sort of spot up this way. So we'll just move the helicopter out. I'm going to move the whole group across. Actually, the helicopter's now going to be sort of caught up in this mass move. But let's actually move this one up into this location. Now, what I'm going to do through here is press Control, and that then has a group move. So we're going to do a group move up to here. And if I press Shift, it's going to be a fast move. So it's going to move as fast as it can into this location. I'm happy enough to do that. So I've got Control and Shift. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and click over through here. Now, I'm going to right-click to start the move, but I'm going to click and drag. I'm going to click to position it there, and then going to click on and move it further into this area. And what that's going to do is it's going to then position the head unit is going to stay further back near the objective, and the others are going to then move on. So then let go, and so you can see there's 2 different movement areas. I am going to now go, that one now would also then be moving across there, but I do want this one to move up so we can see what's going on. Right, we're down to 1,700, so we're sort of now starting to miss out a little bit. We've still got this one unit back in through here. We don't know where the AI actually is. Let's go and build yet another of these in nice and close. So let's go and place another one of those in there. We'll unpause. These will now all start to move off. And we'll just pause again, go back in, get another helicopter in through this side. We're down to 1,500. So we need the helicopters to quickly find where the AI actually has come in on the actual map itself. Let's just zoom out a little bit. And I'm just going to go and position this helicopter. Just press escape, grab the helicopter and just start to scout around until we actually come across the AI. Now we've taken this area of the map. And we'll just see if we can find where they actually are. We definitely don't want the HQ being targeted. So this is now just the real-time aspect of the game itself. So these are now moving across the desert. These are staying where they are. We're not seeing anything else up this way just yet. Okay, so we can see very clearly out through the desert, but not so clearly back into these forest areas. Okay, let's move down. If they were up there, we would have seen them. Let's move the helicopter across this way. But it's a very, very cool game. Actually, we've now captured this one. I'm now just going to grab one of these because we now know that this is fairly secure. I'm just going to send one of them up that way. In fact, I'm going to go and tell it to go quickly there. So I'm just going to, it's exposed if it goes across the bridge, but that's okay. We can sort of see anything that might be coming with the helicopters. Let's just move on down. I might just move into that tree line there. We're just going to try to locate where they're coming from. Oh, here they come, here they come. So let's just pause. So what we've found is we've now got, we were a little bit off with what we've done, but we have full control of everything. Now they're going to be trying to move up through this forest area. So let's now just go across and set this one up. I'm just going to go and get more of these mech infantries, and we're going to press R. So we're going to now bring in areas back in through this other side. This helicopter, I don't want this one to, you can see there's a vague shape of a helicopter underneath there. It can fire at these mech recons at range 4. And so as long as I keep it out on the outside of that area, it will then sort of do what it's doing. Now this is actually in charge of these infantries. So we've got sort of mech infantry coming up, and we've got mech motorized recon coming along the road. So there's actually there's going to be mechanized infantry versus mechanized infantry back in through this side. So we do need to bring most of these guys back. So we'll bring this one back as well. So we'll just do a shift, control shift, and bring that one back into the fight. We'll do a, so we've got that one, we've got this one as well. So we'll just get that one also back in, control shift, and bring that one across. We had the one unit that was actually coming back off there. I'll keep that one going so we can actually take that location. I'll start to bring this one back in now to go and sort of counter what's actually happening. This one here we didn't actually make good use of. This one does have the helicopters as well. So I think I'll actually control shift click this one just into this area. So they'll now start to swing back in now that we know where the AI actually is. So the fight will actually now be in through this area. So let's go and keep this one on the outside here. Let's just go and keep it 4 away. So we'll just micro what happens with this unit. Just unpause. Here comes all of our units. Yeah, they're going into the forest. Yeah, we're seeing more mech infantry coming back across. Every 12 seconds. See how that's now moving? And we just destroyed that. Let's just go and pause this. Okay, we've got a strike aircraft coming in. So this is actually going to be trying to bomb this particular helicopter. I'm not going to be able to move it out of the way, I don't think. But I don't know if this can actually hit the helicopter. So that's their jet moving in. Wish that these are a little bit more defined, the actual tanks that we can sort of see underneath there. I wonder if there's a way of changing that. I don't know if I can. If I go to settings, I don't think that that's the bloom. No, that's not going to. The bloom is just affecting the overall look of things. I'll leave it where it is. Okay, return to the game. Yep, so it missed. It did try to sort of move into that area through there. So this one is now. See how these have turned white? The reason for that is that these have actually now gone and they've lost their leadership, and so the leader has been destroyed. And so they are now leaderless now that they've sort of got that one through there. Now they won't move essentially. Now I've got to be careful of this unit through this side because it will be able to tackle like this one has. If I control, actually that's a howitzer, and the howitzer you can see there has got a range of 4, but a movement of 1. And so this is quite dangerous for my helicopter. So I'm going to move that one away. So I'm going to move the helicopter back up. And they're going to start to try to come into this other zone now. The other units are all moving back away. This one is still trying to go back up. Actually, I should have done the shift the shift click just to go across that bridge. At the moment, we're going to move all of these down now onto the edge and just sort of set up like a kill zone at the bottom here. Now, the way that the combat works is you'll notice that as we sort of are doing the attacks with the helicopter, we're seeing 12% all the time with the actual movement of different types of units. Let's just move across a little bit over through here, and we'll just unpause as it gets a shot. Now it's every 16 seconds with the helicopter. If I can right click, I'll just go through what we're seeing through this side. So the base stats, it's got a sight range of 4, which means it can see everything in the desert, which is great. So it works very, very well in the desert. We've got a hit chance of only 12%, but everything has only got that same hit chance. Now, in the game, if you hit something, you kill it. And so at range 4, 12%, it means we're going to have to shoot it maybe sort of like 9 times before we actually can then get like on average a kill. So there's a fair bit of shooting before anything actually does happen. The reload time is 16 seconds, so it takes a long time to reload unless we use the resupply that we actually have through here. So their actual combat ship that they actually had was I think the same as this one here. No, that was different again. Yeah, no, we don't actually have all of these. So you can see that there's other ones that are now starting to come back in. We've got the motorised recon back through that side. Do we have any armour? No, this is just purely old infantry. We do actually have attack helicopters in through this side as well, a little bit cheaper. But for the one that we actually have in through this side through here, if I just right click on these actual helicopters, so indirect fire can attack any visible unit within weapon range. Can't attack flying units. So if we have flying units coming in, we can't actually attack them, only ground units. We can see over terrain, always moves at maximum speed, can't capture victory locations, and always visible as if in open terrain. So units can always see us if we're within inside that sort of range of them. So we'll just turn off the deployment and just sort of keep trying to sort of use attrition to start to destroy their units. Now, it will take a bit of time. They're now moving away. There we go. We're seeing much more. Now, there was a 12% chance for us to hit that one. Now, these have only got a range of 2. So my helicopters can do a pretty good job here. And now we're now earning 6 per turn because we've actually got the objectives. We're not quite getting the distance there. It's only 12%. There's the HQ. That's the objective. If we can kill that one off, we actually win the game. Now, we're up to 500. I could bring another helicopter in if I wanted to. But I think I'm just going to keep going with this a little bit. Actually, they may not be able to target. Don't know if that's... Yeah, this has got can attack any visible unit within weapons range, but can't attack flying units. So we're actually a bit immune with our helicopters. So we might as well just do as much damage as we can. We've got to be careful we don't move within 2. So we don't want to halve the distance between our attacks here. But their reinforcement rate is going to be much, much lower than ours. Let's bring this one across as well. And we'll just keep on doing as much damage as we can. Now we're up to nearly 800 again. Let's bring another lot of reinforcements in. Oh! Now they've actually come back up. We've got to be careful. What have they brought in? This is mechanised infantry. So they're actually now on the attack. We'll just move back. Bring these across. Now, they're saying that the impact on it, our HQ is now under threat. So I'm going to move the HQ back to here. It means that our reinforcements also then have to come from that area. We've still got this guy. This has now been taken. So I think we can actually now move this one back down. I might leave this one to defend, and I'll bring this one across to then sort of sit in behind. Now, I don't want to lose these HQ type units, so I'm going to move them back out of the way. In fact, even this one here is a little bit exposed. So we'll just bring in more and more of the lowest level because it doesn't matter if they get killed. But it is a nice little game, this one. It's very, very interesting the way it sort of does work. Now, we can't see much with where we actually are. Yeah, so these are now all starting to sort of come back across. Let's unpause again. So we're going to be able to do more damage from here. So we'll now should be able to now destroy these fairly readily because we're getting good vision on them with the helicopters, and these guys can now all start to attack as well. There we go. They just destroyed one of ours, but we're getting a faster reinforcement rate. See how by the way, see how these victory locations are diminishing. When you capture them, they start to diminish, and eventually what happens in the game is that you're left with one victory location left in the whole game. Now, on the edges, they actually go at a faster rate than in the middle of the map. So it could be that this one here ends up being the last one. If that's the case when you're playing like a bigger game, it means that you sort of end up being pulled in towards the middle of the map to then try to sort of win through a domination victory. And we're actually doing that one right now. You can see DasTactic is dominating the map and we'll win in about 7 minutes. And so that's actually what's happening. Because we've got all 3 of these victory locations, it also then generates more money for us. And so we can get more replacements than what they actually have. If we go back across again and just press B, we can then sort of see this one here is actually missing a unit. So I can go and click on that unit and just go across and just go and press on R. It will then bring in another reinforcement from the HQ, then sort of go and replenish that one there. So that one's going to be fine. We'll just go back across. I'm pretty sure that one will work. Just press R again. Whoops. And unpause. There it goes. So we're getting, like they can't really sort of see us properly because we're inside here. And we're getting good numbers. You can see there the actual percentage numbers on their hits. And this is the way the game works. It's very, very simple the way it sort of does work with this. And we're getting multiple hits now on these guys. Here comes the others. And we can then start to go after their HQ fairly soon once we've sort of got this attrition. Comes the other HQ. So we haven't had to build all of ours. We're up to 1,000 again now. So if I wanted to, I'll just pause a little bit and talk a little bit more about the way the game does work. I've only got one general in. I can have a maximum of 3 different generals. And so I can, if I wanted to, go and add another general in. Now the first one in here is worth 750. And so we've got more gunships, but we also have motorized recon if we wanted it. I don't think we want that one, but we do actually have an EMP strike, which will then stop any movement of the actual units themselves. This one over through here has got, again, more mechanized infantry, which is what we already have. This one over through here, actually we don't have any with armor. So these are all randomly generated as to what you end up having. So we've got very limited value in all of these different units. And the game itself will often have armor, which is great in this area. The helicopters are fantastic. So I can bring in another couple of helicopters if I wanted to, but I think I'll just leave the helicopters that we've got just to sort of keep on coming in and just doing the damage, and we'll start to now sort of start to move off after their HQ. So we'll unpause. Now we should have much better hits in through this side. Here we go, we've got more units now coming back in. They're keeping their HQs back a little bit. There we go, destroyed that one. They've still got a howitzer that's moved right up. It's lived a bit of a charmed life. Now it's saying that it's getting close to where our HQ can be targeted, but in reality it won't be. Come on, gee, this thing is actually, look, again, it's only just got the same percentage chance. There we go, finally got it. Now the helicopters, let's just move them across. I have moved that one out, but let's move this one up as well. There we go, we've removed that one through there. So what we might do is we might start to hit some of these other HQ units now. Now that unit there has got all of those, and this unit has got all of these. Oh, here we go, we've got a strike aircraft coming back through. We haven't got any for ourselves. Let's go after this guy. So let's go and move these out now into the middle. So I'm going to press Control to grab everything. I'm going to then press the Shift. Actually, no, I won't bother doing that way. I'll just do it this way, where we go after the HQ. So we're going to start to now move this whole group out and about. So we're now moving in for the kill. Now we've still got 7 minutes. Actually, it looks like they may have... Did they recapture anything? No, they haven't recaptured anything. That's okay. We might go back to the HQ. We've now got a fair bit. Let's go and add another one of these in. So we'll go and throw another one of those into that location. And we'll just go and press R here and then bring in heaps of them. And with that one selected, I'm going to go and also select this one and Control, click, drag, and move it down towards the HQ. So the subunits are now going to attack the HQ. So we'll now sort of close in on the actual HQ. Again, one hit that goes in will get the kill. So we don't need much. There's really very limited with what they can actually now have. There we go. 12% was the chance to hit that one. This is just an infantry squad. And in we go. So these guys are now going to be, there we go, we got it. So we've now killed the HQ. We didn't have to use the domination victory. But what a cool little game, isn't it? It's really, really quite good. And so from here, it doesn't just end with that. What we then can do, we've got other sorts of different things we can actually do with it. We've got like a scoreboard. I'll see if we can actually bring that one up. So this one will then just give us a rundown as to what actually happened through there, what we earned. Again, because we were getting the extra, we're getting 100% more than what the AI was getting. So it certainly makes it one-sided. But I think that, like, we've gone for 45 minutes. It does take me a little bit of time to explain how the game actually is played. But it's a very, very cool game. And so anyway, that's the scoreboard. We also have like a graph which just sort of shows our earnings minus losses back and through this side. Again, you can see the AI really did diminish as we played the game. Again, at that 50%, it's very, very one-sided. And also we started right on the victory location. It was a sure victory, yes. I know that a lot of you like to see me struggle with these sort of games, but I wanted to show you how to play the game. Now, let's go back and rewind the game. So this is actually a replay of the game itself. And we can then just go and start playing, and we can see the actual game. If I turn on the fog of, well, heck, that's the fog of war is off anyway. I can change the perspective. We're looking at it from our perspective, and we can sort of start to see what actually happened. I can just fast forward to then look at the actual game itself, what they did. So they brought things in. Our helicopter then discovered those. We started to attack, brought these units back. So we've got like a full-on replay. We can save the replays if you're in, if you sort of have like a big, multi-battle thing, a theatre battle rather than just a skirmish like this. This is called a skirmish. It's just very, very limited numbers, but you can play with a lot more units back in through here. This is where their little guy just kept on going and going and going. We killed that one off through there. Again, you can see all the percentage hit chances of everything. And we didn't have armor, but that's sort of that's in just a replay of the actual battle itself. Amazingly good game, like incredibly good game. So highly recommended if you like these sort of games. The graphics, as you can sort of see, are fairly simplistic. We only played with one general. If you're playing bigger games, you'll be wanting to have more selection of different forces you can bring in, but the selection you can bring in is very much limited to the types of generals that appear for you. So you don't know what you're going to actually be able to get, because this is sort of random. So we happen to have no armor at all in what we actually could bring in. It just works incredibly well, because it means that every game you play is going to be very, very different. And in this case, we were using the forest to sort of hide our forces until we needed to then have overwhelming firepower. So we could fire more effectively from the forest. They were out in the open, but they also had no armor. Now, again, they had artillery, which we didn't actually get through our random selections. We didn't actually have artillery, but we had helicopters. They didn't have helicopters, and so it really is different every time you do play it. What else can I tell you about the game? It's just a really, really cool little game. So I'll just go back to the main menu. But as I say, it's a game that's very easy to learn, but it's different every time you play it. So big thumbs up from my perspective. Thanks for watching. I hope that was helpful. Hope it sort of does cement in your head whether it's a game that you think that you would like. It's certainly a game that I'm enjoying playing. I'll catch you next time. Oh, by the way, special thank you to my Patreon supporters, anyone who does buy any merchandise or do any of the other sorts of ways of supporting me and the channel. It's very, very much appreciated, guys. And if you do like this sort of, if you're still here, then please consider liking and subscribing. That would also be very, very helpful. I should start off my videos that way, but I always forget to thank people, and I really should do that at the start. So my apologies about that. I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.